the hobby changes. And I think there's room for a bunch of folks. I think you're all acknowledging that. And, maybe what we can do is try to educate some of these flippers into why they should take some of the money they're making flipping and become a collector, enjoy the hobby, find something, whether it's a 1961 Clemente or something else like that. And then maybe those flippers become collectors. Who the hell knows?
Well, they have, right? They have.
Yeah,
they've started buying ultra high end, ultra rare, and they've stopped buying, the stuff from 2 years ago. So like you said, you asked if there's more investors flippers today. I would say that the number is probably about the same. They just they've gotten smarter and they've just shifted away from the stuff that doesn't make any sense to attempt to flip when there's 10,000 of them, and they've moved it into rare things.
Yeah, here's an anecdote that I think paves the path forward for us as a hobby. So Michael Saylor appeared on Patrick Bet-David's podcast a week or two ago, or maybe a little while longer than that. And Patrick Bet-David was probing him about why did he choose to invest in Bitcoin in the summer of 2020. And Michael Saylor's answer, in short, was he found the research and work of modern day intellectuals and how their work was grounded in the underground school of thought known as Austrian economics, which has always sort of been interwoven with the Bitcoin movement. Austrian economics is a ruggedly libertarian approach to economics. It believes that all value is subjective, and there's also like moral implications to Austrian economics. They believe that government force is inherently wrong, it's immoral, and so like they build systems of thought and ways of organizing societies and governments that avoid having to have the government force you to do anything. It's a radically libertarian philosophy. And so it always gravitated to Bitcoin because Bitcoin was the counterpoint to a fiat currency that's enforced on some level by government decree. And they really embrace this idea and a lot of the principles that underpinned Bitcoin. So Saylor found works by these intellectuals who were explaining the rationale behind Bitcoin and about why Bitcoin is a good hedge against inflation, why Bitcoin should remain strong even when monetary policy and inflation are causing the stock market to be volatile or it's influencing more traditional markets. He said he looked at the way the monetary supply was expanding. He looked at monetary policy that was going to be enacted over the next few years, and he just said, this just seems like a really smart hedge, and really smart people are endorsing it and making really good arguments for it. And so the thing that convinced Saylor to do Bitcoin rather than art, rather than real estate, because he told Patrick Bet-David he looked at real estate, he looked at art, but the thing that sold him on Bitcoin was the fact that there were these intellectuals, the Austrian school of economists, who supported it. And so Saylor, being an intellectual guy himself, said, I am going to go with this. I can read this. The reasoning makes sense. The rationale makes sense. Any questions that I have, there is an answer to it. Even if I don't love it, there's a lot of thought and theory supporting this. Whereas in these other markets, it's just not there. If I wanted to go read scholarly works about, the investing in art or whatever, he just wasn't able to find it. It wasn't readily accessible for him. Okay, so in cards, to bring this full circle, that's the next step.
I mean, I want to go to Austria soon, but we're going to bring it to cards eventually. Because I thought what you were going to say was
I think it's super relevant because
there are no smart people in cards. We're all idiots. So we can't sell your cards. That's what I thought you were going.
There are certain faces that people see when they first get into the hobby, and that shapes their understanding of what our industry and our market is. And if our industry and our market seems like, nothing but infomercials and pump and dumping and just kind of these get rich quick schemes, and it seems or childish, it just, it's never going to attract the Michael Saylor. It's never going to bring in people like that. The only people it's going to successfully recruit are people who have a history with it, who loved it as kids and have nostalgic connection to it, of which there are many. And it's going to bring in people who are just very adventurous and say, let me give this a try, this strange world of cards. But the thing that takes us to the next level is the production of some scholarly works that can convince somebody like a Michael Saylor that we do have a durable, roughly stable market, and it's been there for many decades, and it's evolved over time, and it's evolved incrementally. And, you know, once upon a time, there was pretty much no data, and then there was the Beckett Price Guide, and then there was the Beckett Media Empire, and then came the grading companies, and then came, you know, different, you know, eBay came, and then people use eBay comps, and then people started aggregating those, and then these other marketplaces popped up. Like, the history of all this stuff has to be told, and the theories of why the sports card market is amazing have to be told. The sports card market has many great arguments to support it, but the best one to me, I think, is that the market is perfectly dynamic. The sports card market is always fluctuating because it's tied to real world sports outcomes. So when a Jason Tatum has a breakout season and his market goes up 50%, and the Boston Celtics have a lot of people excited since the new year, when Tatum prices go up, there's a domino effect. The next domino that falls is people say, well, okay, is Ja Morant properly priced to him? You know, how should this be working out? And then the next domino to fall is, well, are LeBron James and Kobe Bryant properly priced? And then the next domino to fall is, well, is Michael Jordan and, you know, Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, are they properly priced relative to this? And then there's constantly adjustments being made. And every time a new player does something great, it slightly changes the history of the sport. And then every time a Giannis comes around and gets 2 MVPs in 3 years and looks like he might get 3 MVPs in 4 years and cracks the top 20 all time, ESPN had him as the 17th greatest player of all time. That resets everything. That reorients the history of the sport. But then you look at, you say, man, Giannis is amazing. I'm so excited about him. But Hakeem Olajuwon is even higher. Hakeem Olajuwon is number 12 on this list. Shaquille O'Neal is number 10 on this list. Tim Duncan is number 8 on this list. So it has the domino effect of creating and sparking renewed interest constantly in all facets of the sport, not just the modern player. The modern player is the catalyst, but the domino falls all the way back to the historical greats. And then those historical greats markets adjust, and then it puts the modern players markets into a new context. And all along the way, money is moving around and people are making money and they're reallocating money, they're reinvesting money. That's just one facet of why this market is incredible. It has the dynamism that other financial markets wish they had, that they try to gin up with earnings reports and other reports of that measure. We have it. We have nonstop news infusing our industry with excitement on a day-to-day basis. That's just one example, but somebody needs to reduce this stuff to a text and develop a scholarly work that supports our industry.